Well, anybody who comes to Zimbabwe will be tested at the point of arrival. After being tested at the point of arrival, if they are positive, they'll go to an isolation center. If they are negative, they will be quarantined. And at the moment, at the voluntary arrivals, they have to be quarantined at a hotel or a lodge. We're just sorting out the security system of that, and we have identified the ones which are appropriate for that purpose. And the ones who are being deported, they are already going to vocational centers and national training centers. Those are already in place. So that's basically the rules. Well, the security is us. Obviously, the state will pay for the security, but for your upkeep, that's you. That means they will full board your bedding and your food. That's you. And there's nothing peculiar about this rule, by the way, because that's exactly what was in operation in the UK and other countries just about 6 weeks ago. And people have been coming. UK, it was 2,000. You had to pay 2,000 through your credit card so that the hotel is allocated. So there's nothing peculiar about what we're doing. But what we have decided as a government is that you can't expect the fiscus to pick the tab for your desire to join your family at a critical time like this, because we have other priorities. We have other budgetary priorities to cater for. So we would rather use that money to build bridges, to make sure that the disaster management system is in place because of the rainfalls, and to make sure that people got inputs, rather than to pay for people to stay in hotels. If you can afford to fly into the country at this critical time, you surely can afford to go into a hotel. What's the purpose of returning for festive seasons? You are returning for Christmas, aren't you? So clearly you can afford. There's nothing that stops you from waiting until this avalanche is gone, then come home. So I don't think the argument would work, because we're not forcing people to come home, but you are choosing to come home at this critical time. And when you choose to come home, we are simply saying, okay, it's well and good, but it's not the government which is supposed to pay for you to stay until you're safe. That was the same thing that was applying everywhere, whether it's England or other countries. Kenya was doing it. And Kenya was one of the first people to do it. Is it England? I think our economies are around the same level, really. The issue of asking for quarantine is a filter on its own. It means not everybody is getting on the plane to come home. The testing at the airport by Port Health has always been in place. Remember, we had rules which say if you are suspected of, then you'll be tested. If you do not have this, you'll be tested. So we haven't started testing at airports and ports of entry today. There are facilities to hold people, and there are facilities to test people. Everybody that is coming here, including those who are coming from cruise ships and so on, have been tested at the airport first and then taken to the holding centers. So there's nothing peculiar about this. We've been here before. The system is primed to do this because it's not a new territory for us. Number one, because people are bringing counterfeit certificates, and you are aware of that. There's an industry going on there which is generating these counterfeit certificates. That's number one. Number two, what if you picked it on the plane? Because you're interacting with people on the plane. So if you pick it on the plane, what do? You come here, we test you, but it may be still within incubation period. So we will quarantine you and test you at particular intervals to make sure you're safe. When I arrived in the UK, I was tested at day 2, and I was tested at day 8. That was their protocol. When you come here, we would communicate the protocol on how often you'll be tested. The idea is not to punish citizens. We do actually empathize with those citizens that have got a critical need to come at this point into this country. But we have a duty of care to every other citizen. And we have to make sure that our system is not overwhelmed by disease. Therefore, we have put in filters and safeguards to protect the rest of the citizenry. I think you will remember last year when we had 15 kilometers of cars coming into the country, and people were at the border for 3-4 days, interacting somehow, and immediately after, we had a massive spike in infections and a spike in deaths. We can't, as a responsible government, allow ourselves to have a repeat of that. I know this affects the economy, and we are aware that the economy is affected by any lockdown. We have tried to make sure that we still continue to operate, but our critical responsibility as a government is to save the life of Zimbabweans, not to save the economy. The economy is there to service the people that are alive, not the people that are dead. So our duty is we protect you, you live, and then we work together to revamp our economy.